So first, let me say that for those of you who are here who just want to get down to it, there are chapters here or timestamps that you can skip ahead so that you can go to whatever it is that you want to watch here on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, chances are you may not be aware of what I've been doing, and I'm going to encourage you to listen to all of this. I do mention something at the very end of this that you're going to want to pay attention to, no matter what it is you came here for. So I do believe you might want to check that out. For the uninitiated, I started my own JW cart as a response to the carts that we all see out. I think it was good timing too, because my opinion is that the carts are where the preaching work is going for Jehovah's Witnesses. They just announced that you don't have to report time or placements anymore. And my guess is that at least part of that is because literature placements are going to be left more to the carts than anything, because they have a lot more control of those carts. There was actually a brother recently on an AM radio station in Utica, New York, announcing to the public this new community service, as they called it, I think, that would be carried out by 200 trained volunteers in the area. And to me, that shows that they're trying to put more emphasis on these carts. Since posting the very first video of my ex-JW cart, I've been inundated with people that wanted to know what was on it. I didn't want to share it right away because, as you'll hear in a minute, I realized that my first iteration was a little poorly thought out and had to go back to the drawing board. So I wanted to make sure that I had something that I felt good enough to share with other people before I sent anybody else down a path. Sometimes you got to let the cake bake a little bit so that then you can share the recipe. So this episode of my podcast and my YouTube channel is that path in detail to get anybody that wants to do this started and started quickly, and to help the curious to understand why in the world we're doing this, or at least why I'm doing this. So why'd I start the cart? Well, I get a lot of people asking me what my purpose is, as though, like Jehovah's Witnesses, I must have one singular purpose in all of this. But instead, let me give you kind of the evolution of the idea to begin with. In my coaching practice, I often see people that are scared of what outsiders think of it all. I can't predict ahead of time how things will go, but I wanted to go out and see what people thought about the cult. Also to maybe do a little public awareness and education campaign, because I don't think that most people really know the real Jehovah's Witnesses or anything close to it. And, you know, a lot of times people are concerned, what do people think about the fact that I was in a cult? What do people think about Jehovah's Witnesses? Or do they even think that they're a cult? So basically, I went out into the world curious to see what I would find. I know my experiences, but I wanted to get some new ones that I could share. So I tried walking up to people, just like JW street work, and I found it difficult because it's not only awkward anyway, but so many people today have earbuds in, headphones on, their Bluetooth speaker going, whatever. And I thought that a cart might be a way to get people to approach me instead of me approaching them. So I started a cart. My first iteration had no clear call to action, no clear message, and was a reflection of the fact that I had an idea, but I really wasn't sure how any of this was going to go. I took it out by myself. I quickly realized as people walked by that they didn't really have anything to do. There was some message, but again, no real call to action. So I went back to the drawing board and I started working on my messaging. I don't usually do things for just one reason, and I don't think most people truly do. So there's not one purpose and one sole overarching purpose to this thing. But I would say that I do want to warn the general public about something that I know destroys lives. That's one part of the reason for my podcast and for helping so many people to tell their stories and all the time I put into that. The general public needs to know what this really is, and then what the community of people like us who have walked away from it are up against. So it's an advocacy work, a public awareness campaign, and I can't speak for how everyone on the outside will see it. I do have to admit that this is fun for me to do on some level. I like meeting nice people, and I've met some really nice people through this already. It's also very empowering in a way. I see ex-Jehovah's Witnesses on Reddit and other groups that are often really triggered when they see carts out in the wild. So I think this is kind of a way also just to, I want to show you that there's nothing to be intimidated by here. In fact, you can have your own cart, go out there and take your own voice back. You don't have to let them be the only voice that's out there. At the end of the day, we were all groomed to go silently into the night. Abusers are afraid of having their abuse brought to light more than anything. That's one of the reasons that people like us who speak out are hit with the apostate label. Because the worst thing you could ever be to Jehovah's Witnesses, the worst sin, sinning against the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, is to ever speak out against the authority that was our abuser. I've known people that have been encouraged just to leave quietly by elders, to fade, to keep silent. Why do you have to tell anybody? Just don't talk about it. You don't have to disassociate, just walk away. That's not me. It's not me at all. I will speak up for myself. I will speak up for the devastated and abused individuals that I see daily or that I know personally and the impacts that Jehovah's Witnesses have made on these people. I will speak out because I can't live with myself if I don't. Even as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, I was that guy who at times spoke up and said things that were very unpopular. It's just a little part of me that has always been there, and Jehovah's Witnesses tried to smash as part of their gaslighting to shame me back into being quiet, which I noticed some people trying to do in the comments. But that's not me. I'm not going to stay silent. I always really like that quote. They tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds. So now let's talk about the messaging a little bit. I've seen some responses about what people would have on their carts. Maybe they would want to talk about the governing body or whatever. And that's fine. You do you. But that's not what my aim is at all. And honestly, I think that would kind of be a waste of time. My messaging, as hard as it is for some to believe, is not aimed at Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm not out there to save them. I'm out there to warn the public, if anything. At some point, we have to get over what Jehovah's Witnesses think because it doesn't matter. If you leave the cult and your life goes in the gutter, they're just going to say that it's because you left Jehovah and joined Satan's world, so what'd you expect? If you leave the cult and do good things and your life goes great, they're going to say it's just because you left Jehovah and now you're in Satan's world and he's blessing you for that. So why in the world would I aim my messaging at people that aren't open and that just seek to justify whatever they do with no rationale? I'm not trying to reason with unreasonable people while I'm out there. Do I feel for those that I see when I'm out there? Well, of course, but also yes and no. Remember, I was also once one of them. And while I was a cult victim myself, just like they are, I was also a kind of abusive person with a lot of bad ideas that were put upon the public in a predatory way, and so are they. That same sweet old sister that is easy to have compassion for, who's wasted her whole life in this cult and who's had so much taken from her, may also be taking from other people. She might be out there shunning her own kids, treating them abusively, shaming them constantly to the point of suicide. Or maybe she's condemning a loved one because they wanted to take blood to save their life and she's shunning them. Or maybe she openly supports the dehumanization of people in the LGBTQIA community. So let's just say it's complicated. And that's why my messaging is all about the red flags that the public needs to be able to notice regarding Jehovah's Witnesses. Just like our stories told on the podcast can help inoculate the public against the manipulation of the cult, so too can pointing out directly what these red flags are that they should look out for. As you'll see on the handout that I put together, it's a very pointed and blunt warning, both on the side of the harmful doctrines of Jehovah's Witnesses, but also in the way that they coerce people to join them. I even have a QR code that can take people who pick up the flyer to a web page with direct links for that support the doctrinal claims that were made. So anything that it says on there, as far as the doctrines go, if they scan the QR code, it takes them directly to my website. There are links there to support everything that is stated, and they can see it from Watchtower's own mouth, from the Jehovah's Witnesses perspective. I also have the website listed for the Shun podcast where they can go to listen to survivor stories. And also to the exjwhelp.com website where perhaps someone that's dealing with the fallout from that witness life can go and find some professional help and resources to help them recover. All right, so this is my cart. At the top, we have red flags, what you need to know about Jehovah's Witnesses. It's very eye-catching, lots of color there. And I have a lot of people who look at my cart, even if they don't come over and talk. The next panel, these are the flyers that we give away. Just have this on here to encourage people to take one, but also it helps hold the papers down from blowing away. Down here, red flag shunning. Jehovah's Witnesses practice extreme shunning even of their own family. And all the way down here at the bottom, red flag. Jehovah's Witnesses praise children for dying due to parental refusal to accept blood transfusions. So this is about child martyrs. I'd say that's a pretty big red flag. These are interchangeable. You can move things around as you wish. There are times where, let's say it gets windy or something, maybe I will pull out this panel, put this back, go up here to the top, remove the red flags, put it over top of the papers so they won't blow away. Put this up at the top. And now we're just talking about, this is kind of an ask me anything. And so it encourages people to maybe come up and talk if they're going to, or at least be interested. So this is all interchangeable. I'm going to, after this, get back to the other video and show you exactly where you can go to get all of these and print them out on your own, including the literature stand itself, the acrylic holders for everything, and all the files to print it all out at home. So it's quick and easy to do. It's already been done for you. And, who knows? Over time, I'm going to probably be releasing other red flags, so to speak. And when I do, I will be sharing those on my YouTube channel as well. So keep watching so that you can stay updated on all the changes as they occur. And I'll get back to the video now. I put a link in the description here on YouTube and the show notes for the podcast where you can go download the files for the cart. Now, I can't speak for how they will work in every situation, but in my case, I can print them easily on my computer and my printer at home. In fact, they just take up most of a standard 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I just open them in the windows as photos, right click. In the printer menu, I make sure to select portrait instead of landscape. And then I also shrink to fit, which gives it a little white border around the edge. That border comes in handy because the card itself has some edges around it, some metal edges that could block some of the messaging. So a little white doesn't hurt around the edge of a white border around your paper or your flyers. Your computer printer, etc., may vary, and I am not here as your personal IT support. So you may have to go figure out some things on your own to get it to work on your computer or with your individual printer. Such is life and technology, and there's plenty of help on the internet if you can't figure out how to get something to work. So hopefully it's fairly seamless, though. I've tested this, so it should work for most people. If you go to ex-JW Help and click on the homepage where it talks about the DIY activism, you have to scroll down a little bit. It talks about DIY activism. There's a little panel for that. So you can click that and you're going to get everything that you need there. Feel a little bit like an infomercial here, but here's what you're going to get. You're going to get the files to print out at home. You're going to get the exact cart that I bought on Amazon. If you don't like that cart or you feel like you can find a cheaper one, knock yourself out. I know that there are cheaper options on there, but I just went with the one that had the most reviews because I don't like to play games, and I'd be happy to spend an extra $20 or whatever to just make sure I get something that works and move on with my life. There's also the links there to the acrylic holders that I bought for my printouts to both protect them just in general, but also to try to keep things from blowing away while they're on the cart. That's what you need to get started. Well, the cart, maybe some idea of where some local carts are if you want to post up near those, but you can always just go out by yourself with the cart and You don't have to have their presence. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about what I feel you should be out there doing if you're going to do this. There are some considerations. You don't have to agree with me. I'm not your cult leader, nor do I want to be, and I will not shun you. But if I'm going to put this out here, I'm going to at least tell you how I think that you might consider doing it. Because my goal, again, isn't some aggressive campaign to get all up in witnesses' faces or to promote anything less than something reflective of what they do, but with some differences. The following are my opinions. If you go out and act a fool and get yourself in legal trouble, you've done yourself a disservice, the community a disservice, and you've missed the point. This isn't some angry campaign against the cult to encourage harassment. It is rather a counterpoint to their narrative and one designed to warn people against their impacts. The videos that I actually do when I release them here on my YouTube channel themselves are a form of training. I'm showing you what I do. You don't have to react the same. That's fine. But these are the ways that I would handle this while I'm out. And honestly, I've been doing this for the first time myself. So I think we're all going to kind of learn a little bit as we go along. One thing that you'll notice is that I don't follow their carts to second locations. I said once in a video, just kind of thinking aloud, that I might or could. And certainly, I think that, if I wanted to follow them to another location one time, like if they went across the street and I wanted to go across the street, I guess I could. But I'm not focused solely on them. Will I park up next to them if possible to be the awake to their watchtower, their companion, so to speak? Sure. But I only do that if there's room and if it makes sense. In other cases, I just park across the street myself. That's where I set up. I don't speak to them unless spoken to. I'm not there to argue with them at all. I'm not there for them. I do wear a shirt from my store online that has my Shunned logo on it. I'm wearing it right here in the video. I think that itself is interesting visually while being simple. And people notice somebody who's wearing a shirt that says Shunned on it. I'll link to that on the website as well, just in case you would like one too. Sometimes I'll wear the heart shirt that's on there, which is made of 20 words that sum up the negative impact and feelings of leaving a cult, and then 20 words that sum up or represent some of the positive feelings and impacts of leaving a cult. But you wear what you want. I think it's just good to strike a balance between too formal and too informal. And if I'm wearing a shirt that says Shunned on it, it definitely draws eyeballs to me and to my cart. And, I don't know. I think that I've had conversations wearing this shirt without a cart, just going anywhere. I've had people ask me questions and really had some interesting times explaining things. So to me, it's just something that you can do along with your cart that helps add to it as an option if you want. Do you? I also try not to stand right up on my cart like the witnesses do. Man, they crowd around that thing so much. It's like they're trying to almost intimidate the people who try to approach. But I think you're going to have to do trial and error there, as am I. But, there's just some things you'll just have to use your judgment around and see how you feel. But remember, this is public. You're out in public. I'm careful not to block the whole sidewalk or anything. It's a public sidewalk, not just mine. So, there's things you're going to have to consider. There's a few locations that I know of locally that, in my view, are not what you would call public, but where I've seen Jehovah's Witnesses post up some carts. And so, I have to figure out my plan of action there if I want to even bother going to those locations. Plenty of others. I don't know your local laws regarding any of this, so you are a grown person. You need to investigate some of those on your own. But ultimately, though, if you're pretty much mirroring what they're out there doing by the way you behave and by where you set up, you're likely following something that's already been thought out. Now, I haven't done it yet, but we just kind of had the idea. but we're going to start carrying around a trash bag and one of those little extended grabber things so that we can pick up trash while we're out there. We're out there volunteering to do something good, so why not make it even better? I've moved things out of the way for people. I try to be friendly and just be an overall good citizen while I'm out there. Kind of connect to just the people walking around instead of being disconnected like the witnesses. Anyway, I've ordered a collapsible grabber off of Amazon, waiting for it to arrive. And I don't think that you can go wrong by doing good while you're already doing good. So let's do something good. Not everybody's going to think it's good, and that's okay. I get lots of people in the comments that are stuck on Jehovah's Witnesses and defending them due to their experiences, their psychology, likely their own continued attachment to something JW, while telling me how obsessed I am and how I can't move on. Whenever you do something new that challenges the status quo, you're going to get people that are going to come to you projecting whatever their feelings are about this or these situations because this is confronting to them in some way. And that's fine. Just give a hater a hug and move on. And if this isn't for you, maybe don't do it. If you don't like it, don't like it. I'm good either way. But we're all adults here and we can make our decisions about how we want to live our lives and what we want to do, what we don't want to do. So for those who want to do it, cool, let's do it. For those who don't want to, don't. And it's as simple as that. If you go out and do this, you have some sort of positive experiences that you want to share with me, feel free to email them to me. Maybe I'll compile them and make an episode about what people are experiences as this initiative grows. If you are excited about this, please tell others and spread the word. I can't do it all by myself with everything else that I do. There's simply not enough of me to go around. So if you like this, share it. Point people back to the exjwhelp.com website where they can find the files and such. I'm also planning on having some other forms of activism listed there that you can undertake, including, again, some unique things that I don't think most people have ever thought of. But this is going to be the first, and I think one that can have quite the impact. You know, whatever that impact will be personally for you is going to be individual to you as well. So I can't tell you what your purpose will be in doing this. To each their own. I will continue working on this idea, and I'm going to release new sets of graphics for it as time goes on that will feature different subjects. So watch this channel if you want to keep up with my experiences. And if you want to find out when I release something new for the cart, I also have ideas beyond this, to be honest, but it's all about growth. So follow along and you can come along for the ride. And if you love this idea and you want to support all the effort, time, and money that I put into all of these things that I do, I will ask you to please consider supporting me at patreon.com/shunned. Your support does help. I'm out here doing a lot, and sometimes it's helpful to help the helpers. So it's up to you, but it's always appreciated. And I told you at the beginning, kind of teased something that I was going to talk about at the very end. And so here we go. I have something big coming up, way bigger than this, actually. And it's not purely my undertaking, but there's some preparation that has to be done ahead of it. But in November, if all goes as planned, I'm just saying you're going to want to be paying attention to the channel. That's all I can really say because I'm not at liberty until official announcements are made in the official way to get into all of the details. But let's just say it's time to make some changes.